November 28th, St. James of the Marshes. He was born Dominic Gangala in the early 1390s to a poor family in Monteprandone, then in the March of Ancona in central Italy along the Adriatic Sea. In his youth, he was a good student, and later he was sent to the University of Perugia, where he took the degree of Doctor in Canon and Civil Law. He was then chosen to be a preceptor to a young gentleman of Florence. But realizing that he was about to be engulfed in the whirlpool of worldly excess in which he found himself, St. James applied himself to prayer and recollection, and thought of entering the Carthusian order. When traveling one day near Assisi, however, he went into the church of the Portioncala to pray, and moved by the fervor of the holy men who were there, and by the example of their blessed founder St. Francis, he determined to petition in that very place for the habit of the order. At that time he took the monastic name Jacobus, rendered James in English. Having finished his novitiate near Assisi, he studied theology near Florence with John of Capistrano under Bernardino of Siena. He began a very austere life, fasting 9 months of the year, until Bernardino told him to moderate his penances. Despite of this, he fell ill with a number of different illnesses which for 30 years he endured with heroic patience, without ever exempting himself from saying Holy Mass or assisting at the offices in common. For 40 years he never passed a day without taking the discipline. On June 13th, 1420, he was ordained a priest. He carried out that ministry with such great fervor and power that he never failed to touch the most hardened hearts and produce truly miraculous conversions. Once, he effected the miraculous cessation of furious sedition by simply showing the crucifix to the people. The rebels themselves took him upon their shoulders and carried him through the streets of the city. At Prague, he brought back to God many who had fallen into error, and when a magician wanted to dispute with him, he rendered him mute and thus obliged him to retire in confusion. He traveled through the northern provinces into Germany, Hungary, Poland, Norway, and Denmark, and many other places. He often went without any provisions other than his confidence in God. He instituted several non-profit credit organizations called Mountains of Piety that lent money at very low rates on pawned objects, and preached in all the greater cities. When he was called back to Italy to labor against a heresy, he acquired new persecutors who attempted in several ways, including ambushes, poison, and the rousing of seditions against him, to do away with him. But God delivered him each time out of these situations. When chosen Archbishop of Milan, he fled and could not be prevailed on to accept the office. He brought about several miracles at Venice and other places, often by the simple holy name of Jesus written on a paper. He raised from dangerous illness the Duke of Calabria and the King of Naples. The saint died in the Franciscan convent of the Holy Trinity near Naples, to which city the Holy Father had sent him at prayer of its king Ferdinand. The date was the 28th of November in the year 1476. He was 90 years old and had spent 70 of those in religion.